Life could be worse. No, not really. This is the worst.
This is the worst.
This is the worst. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Liberty and justice for all. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep. Liberty and... Exactly. That's what I'm fucking talking about, man. Hell yeah. Yep. Yep. Equality. Fuck yeah, bro. Okay, if we just hold on. That's what we've been saying. That's all we've been saying. This is great. Okay, guys, if we could just back up for just a second. I don't think we made ourselves clear.
The world was made for ADHD. Part 13.
All right, time to do the dishes.
Welcome to Dishmaster, where dishes aren't just a chore, they're a competition. You are currently ranked as the 29th fastest dish put awayer in your community. Would you like to play around?
Yes.
Okay, get ready, go.
Done.
Great job! You placed second. That earns you 30 tickets.
There's something about you that's just so like whimsical and magical and like sparkly. I don't know. I can't like put my fingers on it. It's just there's something about you. Autism. That would be the autism. And I swear to God, do not manic pixie dream girl me. I am a bucket of chaos and I will drop kick you into the sun.
Boys, if one of your male friends transitions, tell her she looks cute when you see her. Just do it, okay? It's like, I'm your bro. Tell me I look cute.
To my friends on the spectrum, let me explain to you an unspoken social rule that possibly nobody has ever explained to you before. If a neurotypical asks you, what game are you playing? They're not asking you to describe the game. They're asking you if they can play too. If a neurotypical asks you, what are you watching? They're not asking you to explain the plot of the movie or TV show to them. They're asking if they can watch it with you. When neurotypicals ask you, what are you doing? What you think they're saying is, please explain to me what you're doing. What they're actually saying is, can I join you? And here's the crazy part, if you start explaining to them what you're doing, they will interpret that as a rejection. Because what you think you're saying is the answer to their question, but what they think you're saying is, this is an elite and exclusive activity for a level 5 friend, and you are a level 1 acquaintance. You are not qualified to join me because you don't know all this stuff. Go away. This is often why neurotypicals think you're being cold and antisocial. It's just all a miscommunication. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. We need to learn each other's language.
Octupling down on this antagonizing of black women, she did not have a choice.
Maybe the craziest thing about how whiteness interacts with culture is that these people seemingly never even consider that the cultures that they're stealing from, replacing, might have been doing things for a reason. With this example, with black women's braids, the idea that you could seemingly think that it was a purely decorative thing that anyone could engage in is ridiculous. Literally, of course, our style of braids is derived from the texture of our hair. Our ancestors were not dumb and they weren't thoughtless. Of course, they were responding to the stimuli in the environment and themselves. It's the same thing as colonizers coming across mud huts or controlled forest fires and assuming that it's primitive stupidity rather than like a very logical and ecologically sound response to the environment around you. Other cultures do what they do for a reason. It's not just fun and games.
Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall. 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 Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall.
talk left-wing politics in my small-town bar with people mostly whose idea of a leftist is the actual devil. So we were talking about workers owning the means of production when somebody made an interesting point. They're like, here you are working your ass off at this bar. Do you really want to split your paycheck with the person who's panhandling outside and doing no work? It's an interesting point because it's similar to working for, say, $20 an hour. In that hour, I produce $100 of value for the company. I take my $20 and then I hand out the other $80 that I created to a small group of wealthy owners who were not there, did none of the work, and had no part in creating the $100 of value other than just owning the means of production. Now, a lot of people will say right-wingers are just too far gone, it's not worth it, and I hear that point. It's true for a lot of folks, but a simple shift in perspective makes people think. I talk left-wing politics in my small-town bar with people mostly whose idea of a leftist is the actual devil. So we were talking about workers owning the means of production when somebody made an interesting point. They're like, here you are working your ass off.
It is probably time for you to start forgiving yourself for the times that you couldn't set boundaries in relationships, and here's why. Extending self-compassion does not negate self-accountability and noticing how our actions impact us and other people. And sometimes we don't set boundaries because we're afraid of being rejected. Maybe we have trauma that has made it difficult for us to speak our mind and express our needs. Sometimes the people that we're talking to have made us feel extremely emotionally unsafe. Ultimately, self-compassion is about holding nuance and realizing that sometimes we might have to do a little bit deeper reflection to notice when certain cycles and patterns are being repeated within specific relationships. And when people have caused us a lot of harm, it's really difficult to create a new association with what it means to set boundaries. Giving yourself the opportunity to understand why those boundaries weren't set and what was happening, and give yourself the context that you need.
But I found this evil, immoral, disgusting website that lets you get textbooks for free. So I'm going to show you guys this website just so you know to avoid it and never use it.
Now, as a college prof, I, of course, would never advocate that anybody should be stealing their textbook. I would certainly never intentionally share information that makes it easier to do so. Not point out that academic publishers are absurdly profitable. As in, however much money you think they are making more. And if you think that it is problematic that they are exploiting students to do so, you don't even know the half of it. It is literally bad for all of us. And I include myself here, because the last time I assigned my textbook for one of my classes, I think I made maybe $25 on it, and my royalty percentage is above the industry average.
If you don't watch Fox News, here are 5 totally real and definitely not made up stories you might have missed this week. Drinking straws are feminine.
Men should never, and I mean ever, drink from a straw.
Now, I'm not sure where straws rank on a scale from ice cream cones to having hiccups, but it's coming from the manliest man himself, so don't ask questions. Apparently, this would be Piers Morgan's reaction if his child came out to him as trans.
But if that happened to my daughter, I would identify as a homicidal maniac.
Piers also managed to tell that same joke twice last night in less than a minute.
I would identify as a raving lunatic. Laura is now identifying as Brian Kilmeade.
I identify as the mommy issues you clearly have and the therapy you desperately need.
You should just identify as a Duracell bunny.
Climate change isn't real because stuff happened before we made fossil fuels.
One of the first hurricanes reported was, I think it was in the 1400s. Now, I would venture a guess that had nothing to do with fossil fuels.
I really love this argument because it can just apply to anything. Like, did fossil fuels exist during the Cambrian explosion? Yeah, I didn't think so.
Hot weather happens in the summer.
Now, this last clip didn't air on Fox News, but both people are on Fox, and it's so batshit I had to include it. So here's Newt Gingrich talking about abortion.
We think 15 weeks is a reasonable limit to abortion versus a party committed to killing your baby on the last day, or in some cases, committed to killing your baby up to 30 days after it's born.
Bro really said Democrats are returning their babies like a bad ASOS order. It's giving zoo books. It's giving Snuggies. It's giving Billy Mays.
If you're not completely satisfied we'll refund your money.
And most importantly, it is very definitely real. I'll see you on Friday for next week's recap. And this weekend, I'll be doing a full video on Trump's mugshot, because if I have to watch Fox slobber over it for a week, so do y'all.
LGBTQIA plus community. Honey, you just wanted a reason to be homophobic and trans.
I'm going to try to be as nice as possible so TikTok doesn't take down this video, but this is something that has been irritating me for so long, especially watching Snow's videos and seeing the amount of hate they would get just for existing. Tap dancing for homophobes and transphobes will not make you safer. It will not make you more likable. In the end, they will still hate you. And the only people I've ever felt embarrassed to share a community with are those queer people, or those black people, or those neurodivergent people who kick down at other people in their own community to make themselves seem more likable or respectable to their oppressors. People will say trans people are dying and you're talking about frogs pronouns. Trans people are dying and you are complaining about someone talking about frogs pronouns. You're doing exactly what homophobes and transphobes do. You are shitting on someone just trying to live their life for no reason. And to come on a video of a queer person talking about a traumatic experience they had and to mock them? What has to be going through your head to think that is an okay thing to do? I don't know who you think is going to pick you, but in the end, we're all in the same boat and you are stabbing holes through it. Being a respectable minority isn't going to save you in the end. They still hate you.
People growing up have been taught from infancy that there's no such thing as white culture, that their history is something to be ashamed of, and to the point where, like, they don't even know what they are as a group. Like, you can't even acknowledge the existence of, like, white people as a group with...
Conservatives, stop confusing anti-white culture with anti-white people having culture. White culture is the idea that every person on this planet with pale skin has the same culture. European people, Swedish people, German people, whatever, they all share the same culture. This is obviously not true. A Romanian would not understand the culture of a Swedish person because they are simply both white. Teaching kids that every white person on earth doesn't have the same culture isn't brainwashing them. It's just teaching them the fact of the matter. Obviously, different kinds of white people around the world have different kinds of culture. They don't all share the same culture. Because there's so many kinds of white people all around the world with different cultures, you can't group them all together and say that they have shared interests. Because it's not one white culture, it's a bunch of individual cultures. No one is anti-white people having culture. They are anti-white culture. Follow for more. I'm out.
Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall. 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 Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall.
My middleest and littlest ladies are 1.5 years apart, so most of the time they're best friends, but some of the time they're mortal enemies. We were playing Mario Party the other day, which can turn anyone into your mortal enemy, really. But my middleest and I are sitting on the couch, and my littlest is between the couch and the TV dancing. She loves dancing. And as we're playing, my littlest is inching closer and closer to the TV until eventually she is right in my middleest way. And my middleest gets frustrated. She starts to say, "You're so annoying," but she stops herself, switches gears, and says, "I'm feeling really frustrated because I can't see. You're in my way." And I was so impressed by that. Best friends, am I right? No, I was wrong. Because my littlest turns around, hand on her hip, and says, "Listen, I just like dancing, okay?" Turns back around and continues what she's doing. And my middleest did not like that. And I watched my kiddo tense up every muscle in her body and take a deep breath, but I yelled before she could. Pause. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. I spoke to my middleest first. I said, "I am so proud of you for communicating how you were feeling with kindness. Great job." And I looked at my littlest lady and said, "The way you responded to your sister was really rude. You are absolutely allowed to dance your heart out, but you need to do it 3 steps to the left. I need you to be more considerate." Girls are early elementary age, so at this point when they find themselves in conflict, I tend to observe more than mediate. I want them to work on those conflict resolution skills. However, sometimes I just want to finish the round of Mario Party without drama, so I step in. Okay, bye.
No arguments, August, but if you're feeling froggy, then leap. On the last day of August, let's go. If you tell someone living in poverty that they should get a different job, that's like saying that they deserve to live in poverty for having that specific job. Parents who insist on hitting their children but refuse therapy are using hitting their children as the therapy. The word homewrecker is actually a gender-neutral term. We just tend to subscribe it to women because men cheat more on average. Just like a baby doesn't keep a man, a marriage isn't going to keep a woman, so it's futile to try to use those things to trap people. Believing that it's okay for your partner to love and date other people while you do the same could be a sign that you're polyamorous. Believing that your partner should only date you, but feeling as though you can do whatever you want, could be a sign that you need therapy. Oftentimes, men love their children as much as they love the mothers of their children. And last, older women are not scaring younger women out of marriage by being bitter. Older men are doing that by being themselves.
The first one here is an audible label maker to label products.
Almond butter salted. Almond butter, no salt.
Next here is a liquid level indicator that beeps and vibrates when liquid nears the top of a mug. Here we have a talking microwave.
1 minute express cook. 30 seconds added.
Here we have a veggie cutter, which can be a great way to chop vegetables when blind or low vision. Here we have a talking food scale.
141 grams. Goodbye.
This is a talking food thermometer. Here we have another audible label maker called a talking tin.
Water bottle.
And then lastly, here we have bump dot stickers, which are a great way to label appliances, making them tactile and accessible.
Oh no, not my feminist literature books that I study every day.
Oh no, indeed. Because that's not feminist literature. The book at the very top of your pile, we can tell, start with the letters C-A-S. Given that, we can surmise that the rest of the first word is casino. The second word is a little bit blurry over here, but looking at it from this angle, we can tell that the title is Casino Gambling. It's made more obvious by the dice and the cards that you can see underneath your hand on the cover. With that information, I'm able to tell that that book is actually Casino Gambling, the Ultimate Play to Win Guide by Roger Gross. It's blurry, but we can see the words The Ultimate Play to Win Guide right over here underneath the title, as well as the author's name right here at the bottom. Now, this book on the bottom of the pile was significantly more difficult to identify, given that the only moment where I could see the cover was while it was falling. However, I was able to piece out what looked like the words Volume 2 right above this square face over here. Above that, I saw what looked like a short word that started with a W, as well as 2 initials. It also seemed like that word ended with a D as well. Given that, I was able to find what seemed like an exact match to the cover, Weird New Jersey Volume 2, a travel guide to New Jersey's local legends and best kept secrets. Now, the skeleton in the middle was giving me pause, because I didn't seem to match this sad-looking square face. And I realized that was just a product of the image blurring together, because on the very next frame, you can see the skeleton a lot more clearly. This last book is the black book in the middle, which I thought was going to be impossible to find. So we never actually see the front cover. All we see is the back side, in which it is impossible to read anything clearly. However, I did notice at the very top line that the last word or two was bolded and in yellow. It seemed to me that that might be the title of the book itself. It also seemed to me that the words Weird New Jersey could fit there. And given that the third book in your pile was Weird New Jersey Volume 2, I decided to search for the first edition, which had a matching black cover. After finding a used copy being sold on eBay, I'm able to look at the back cover, which has our 2 words Weird New Jersey at the end of the first line and in color, followed by a bold line in white and then a paragraph. On the back of your book, after this first line with the title in it, we can see a bolded line in white followed by a paragraph, followed by another short line in which half of it is colored in, which of course is a line praise for Weird New Jersey, followed by 5 different reviews. And of course, if you stop and count, you will see 5 different reviews right over here. You'll even notice that this third one seems to be significantly shorter than the other 4. And when you take a look at the back cover more closely, you can indeed see that the third review is the shortest of the 5. The only difference between these 2 editions is that this one has a barcode on the left side as opposed to the right. But other than that, suffice to say this is the exact same book. And not only is this not feminist literature, it's not even a novel. It's just a collection of magazines.
I'm 7'9".
7'9". I'll save that for another day.
Let's go get some gender-affirming clothes for my girlfriend that just came out. Look at how cute she is! We decided to hit up Beverly Center, which is a big mall in Los Angeles, California, where we live, and the first stop that we hit was H&M. These were some of the aesthetics that Max was instantly drawn to. We wanted some basics that she could style in a multitude of ways while she figures out her aesthetic, but unfortunately, when we went to go and pick out some of the pieces, they were all size 0, and neither of us fit into a size 0. Then we walked over to Forever 21 to see if we could find any cute basics there, and all we found was jutes. jutes galore, bitch. They had ankle length, knee length, they had jutes like crazy, they had jotes. Everything was denim, babe. After that, we headed over to Uniqlo to see if there were any cute basics, and thankfully, this was the one shop that we found things in her size that she actually liked. We ended up picking out this dress because we figured that it'd be easier to style once we got some other basics. And while I was there, I met a supporter. They were so fucking sweet. Oh my god. It's okay that we didn't find a lot of pieces that she resonates with because it gives us an excuse to go out and try more things. But here's us finishing our shopping trip with a pretzel.
Relationship anarchy is not about treating everyone who you date the same, and it's not about prioritizing everyone who you date equally. Relationship anarchy is a socio-political framework for the way that we interact with each other. It comes from the civil rights movement, and it's not centered around romance at all. In fact, it decenters romance, and so it's kind of annoying when you guys only use it to talk about your romantic relationships. The whole entire point of relationship anarchy is that the way that we were taught to engage in romantic relationships is not the way that we must engage in them in order for it to be a fulfilling romance. So under capitalism, we are taught what we need to date, then get married, have kids, get a house, get some cars, grow old together, and retire, right? In relationship anarchy, we call that the relationship escalator, because the normalized idea of romance is that you partner up with someone and then you step on this escalator together and you reach a series of life goals together, because that is just our cultural narrative for romance. Relationship anarchy says when two people come together, they can create the dynamic that they want with each other based on mutual desire, okay? And commonality, their own connection, based on what they actually want from each other and not what society is telling them that they should have because they're in a relationship. And because relationship anarchy is against amatonormativity, that means relationship anarchy does not center romance. It actually actively decenters romance. That applies to all of our relationships. So just because this woman birthed me doesn't mean I have to call her my mom. Just because you're my boss doesn't mean I have to do everything that you say. We were all taught to believe that certain things are normal when it comes to relating to each other, whether that's family, friends, lovers, business partners, acquaintances, co-workers, teammates. We have norms for all of our relationships, as in we think that certain behaviors are normal. And the whole entire point of relationship anarchy is that you don't have to follow that norm. So where did this myth come from? Where did this myth come from that relationship anarchy is about treating all of your relationships equally? That is monogamy hangover. That's monogamy hangover. I've been a relationship anarchist for 8 years, and it's monogamy hangover. It's people who are new to polyamory. Okay, a lot of people who are new to polyamory, guys, should be breaking up, should be getting a divorce. Not all of the people who are in monogamous relationships and open up their relationship are in toxic, and failing relationships, but a lot of them are. And a lot of those people come to the polyamorous dating pool, even though we want to date them as much as monogamous people want to date them. Just so you know, you guys, the ones of you in toxic relationships and you're thinking about opening that shit up because you don't know how to be single, we don't want to date you either. But here's the thing. People think that they want to be polyamorous, but they really just want to fuck a lot of bitches. Being polyamorous is going to require you to confront some things and challenge some parts of your ego that you don't have to challenge when you're not dating multiple people and you're not dating someone who is dating multiple people, right? I'm not saying it makes you more enlightened. I do not think that polyamory makes us more enlightened at all. I just told you that half our fucking dating pool is a bunch of... I'm just saying, if you're with someone who's with other people, you're gonna have to confront some parts of your ego that you might never confront if you are never in that circumstance, right? Monogamy hangover is when you're poly, but you still have monogamous beliefs that you have to fight in your head, okay? And one monogamous belief that new poly people really struggle with is this idea of someone liking someone else more than you, okay? So in monogamy, the person who you're with is supposed to be your BFF, and they're supposed to like you the most, right? That's one of our social norms we were indoctrinated with, okay? And so what they do is they come in the polyamorous dating pool, and they're dating someone who has a partner of 5 years already, and they want to be treated equally to that partner because they don't want to confront the idea that the person who they're dating has a deeper, longer relationship with that other person. That's something they never had to confront in monogamy unless they were extremely insecure, extremely jealous, and was worried their partner was cheating all the time already anyway. And it's not just new people either. I don't want to rag on new people. Sorry, you guys. It could be anyone who hasn't done that shadow work. Anyone who hasn't confronted the idea of being less prioritized. The idea that someone can love you and love someone else in different ways. Anyone who hasn't gone through that dark night of the soul with their ego is gonna struggle dating someone who's dating other people, whether they're poly or mono or new to poly or experienced in poly. Like, if they haven't confronted that, they're gonna struggle dating someone who's dating other people. By the way, if you're struggling with this, the way forward is actually to think about what you want from the relationship and ask for that. And if they don't give you the things that you want and definitely need out of a relationship, you leave them and go date other people. The same advice for monogamous people. We don't have to date people just because we're poly, okay? We don't have to collect people like Pokemon cards.
Shredding waves is much more dangerous than people realize.
You're very brave, Ken.
Thank you, Barbie.
Quick reminder that capitalism offers us zero incentives to actually be a worker, yet is a system that requires the majority of us to be workers. And before you tell me that the need for survival is the incentive that is given to workers to keep on going to work because we need that paycheck to survive under capitalism, might I just tell you that it's not that good of an incentive when most of us who work still can't survive? Like, oh yeah, go to work so that you can get health insurance, but that health insurance won't actually cover everything that you need. Or like, go to work so that you can end up having disposable income. Haha, just kidding. All of that income will then be going to your landlord. And I think that that's why most of us workers intuitively understand that capitalism is a system that monopolizes freedom for the capitalists. So the capitalists have all the freedom in the world. They have disposable income, they can go travel, they can experience life to the fullest. But us workers, not so much. Which is why everyone is clawing their way to the top, you know, because then that's where the freedom is. But what if we had a system where everyone were free, where you didn't have the few at the top, the rich, that monopolized the very idea of living a free and fulfilling life, where the people at the top weren't the only ones that had the free time and disposable income to explore their personal interests. I can't stop thinking about all of the rich culture and art and music and everything that we're missing out on because all of these talented workers can't explore their actual interests. So instead we get the bullshit passion projects of like Jeff Bezos going to space. Like, bitch, we already went to space in the 60s. You're not inventing shit. And with AI and automation, this is even more true. All of that free time and disposable income that those machines are going to create is going to go straight to the fucking top. And we're still going to be grinding 9 to 5 or fucking 12-hour shifts or whatever you're doing to barely survive while the rich get to explore their interests and some. And I think about this all the time in terms of barriers of entry too for hobbies. Like, most of us can't just pick up a new hobby because we have to save up for the materials while these motherfuckers can go to space just because they wanted to. And this is why I want worker democracy so badly, because I'm sick of my labor and the labor of others paying for these vacation times, paying for their fucking hobbies while we get to explore none. Under a worker democracy, we could collectively agree to use the AI and automation to increase our disposable income or our free time, instead of all of those benefits only being seen by the few at the top being called the capitalists under capitalism. So anyway.
Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic, Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador too, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, Guyana, and still Guatemala, Bolivia, then Argentina, and Ecuador, Chile, Brazil, Costa Rica, Belize, Nicaragua, Bermuda, Bahamas, Tobago, San Juan, Paraguay, Uruguay, Suriname, and French Guiana, Barbados, and Guam. Norway and Sweden and Iceland and Finland and Germany now one piece. Switzerland, Austria, Czechoslovakia, Italy, Turkey and Greece. Poland, Romania, Scotland, Albania, Ireland, Russia, Oman. Bulgaria, Saudi Arabia, Hungary, Cyprus, Iraq and Iran. There's Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, both Yemen, Kuwait and Bahrain. The Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belgium and Portugal, France, England, Denmark and Spain. India, Pakistan, Burma, Afghanistan, Thailand, Nepal, and Bhutan, Cambodia, Malaysia, then Bangladesh, Asia, and China, Korea, Japan, Mongolia, Laos, and Tibet, Indonesia, the Philippine Islands, Taiwan, Sri Lanka, New Guinea, Sumatra, New Zealand, and Borneo, and Vietnam, Tunisia, Morocco, Uganda, Angola, Zimbabwe, Djibouti, Botswana, Mozambique, Zambia, Swaziland, Gambia, Guinea, Algeria, Ghana. Burundi, Lesotho, and Malawi, Togo, the Spanish Sahara is gone. Niger, Nigeria, Chad and Liberia, Egypt, Benin and Gabon, Tanzania, Somalia, Kenya and Mali, Sierra Leone and Algeria, Dahomey, Namibia, Senegal, Libya, Cameroon, Congo, Zaire, Ethiopia, Guinea-Bissau, Madagascar, Rwanda, Major and Cayman, Hong Kong, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Yugoslavia, Crete, Mauritania, then Transylvania, Monaco, Liechtenstein, Malta, and Palestine, Fiji, Australia, Sudan.
You get more millionaires with socialism, guys. I said it. Socialism is better at making normal people rich. And I say that because there is a gas station where 175 millionaires work. The gas station is Stewart's. It's in upstate New York and Vermont. And 175 of their employees are millionaires because Stewart's is an employee stock ownership plan. The workers actually own the company. And if that sounds familiar, that is because it's the socialism. The workers own those freaking means of production. You know what I'm saying? Some people say that an ESOP is not socialism. And to those people, I say, whatever, dude. There are 3,000 active employees across 345 stores. 40% of Stewart's is owned by the employees, which means there's a big bucket of company stock that instead of being pushed around and gobbled up by titans on Wall Street, it is owned by the humble ice cream scooper. And 175 of them are millionaires because they own the damn scooper. 75% of the millionaires started out hourly at Stewart's, and a third of them still are hourly. Back in 2018, over 1,000 of those workers had over $100,000 in their retirement accounts, which begs the question, do you have that much money in your account? Because the median retirement savings in America is $65,000, dude. Stack after stack after stack has been racked by these workers. Whatever it is you're doing in the God-loving free market out there, is it stacking like this is? Because the people humping and pumping down at your local commie gas station have got that bag. That's what this is all about, right? Getting rich, drinking beers, ripping shit on a badass jet ski. That's the dream. And that dream's a reality at your local commie gas station. In 2019, there was double-digit growth on the employee stock and a $17.5 million ESOP contribution. In 2022, double-digit growth and a $19.5 million contribution. You get in the program by working 1,000 hours, and after you work there 6 years, there's usually a whole freaking paycheck in the bank. Thank you very much. You guys, this is a freaking gas station. It's not engineering or banking or pharma. Right, Sophie? No six-figure degrees, no magic. It's a freaking commie gas station with ice cream. And they're dishing out millionaires. Scoop by freaking scoop. Does your job do that? Can you become a millionaire by doing what you're doing right now? Be honest. Do you have more money saved than somebody who works at this gas station? You could. But you gotta own those means, bud.
First of all, Lydia, love your bio. Hilarious. In case you're too lazy to click on it, it says, my whole entire personality is being pro-life. Could you imagine if my whole entire personality was like being against medical care? I need this operation because it helps me with my life. Nah, not part of my aesthetic. You're thrilled about Roe v. Wade getting overturned. You're like, oh yeah. You claim it's saved 10,000 lives so far. But what's weird is you didn't put how many lives it ruined as well. What about the woman in Texas who was pro-life but couldn't get an abortion until she went into sepsis because that was the rule in Texas, and lost an ovary and now has like half a chance of getting pregnant again even though she wants to? Is she on your list? What about all the women that can't have children because of financial reasons and now are subjected to even more poverty because Roe v. Wade got overturned? Do you have them somewhere written down? What about the thousands of people that no longer have access to abortion near them, so they go to back alley abortions like they did in like the 1950s, creating medical problems that result in death? They're not part of the 10,000 that you saved? What about the 11-year-old whose body is literally too small to carry a child and they still have to carry it for risk of death? Where's their name? What about that 7th grader that gave birth? Oh, she was in Time magazine. You didn't read the article? So Lydia, I'm kind of confused when you like held up the newspaper and you're like, we saved 10,000 lives. It's not like you saved 10,000 people from like drowning in the ocean.
You forced 10,000 people to do something against their will. You forced 10,000 people to do something with their bodies they didn't want to do. I know you probably don't agree with any of that, so I'm going to make it very clear for you. What's the line? 11-year-old gets pregnant from SA. They have to give birth. And it's not hypothetical, like it happened. There's like a Time article about it. It's very public. So that woman in Texas has to wait to go into sepsis again before she can get one. Like, what's the cutoff here for you? See, personally, my cutoff is, oh my God, it's not my body. Why am I telling someone else what to do with it? Because here's my thing. When you say that you saved 10,000 lives, I'm thinking either you are genuinely not thinking critically about that and what effect that has on people, or you do and you just don't care.
5 things not to say when your kid tells you how you have hurt them.
You did that to me.
Theory, you really know how to make me feel like a really bad parent. You know that?
That's what you did.
I've never done that to you, Theory. Stop lying. You're always lying. Yeah, I don't care. You deserved it. You deserved every single bit of it.
How I feel.
Why you hurt me after all I've done for you? Do you know what I've given up for you? If I was so bad, then why didn't you leave?
Because I'm your daughter, I have nowhere to go.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everybody would like to have you because you're so perfect. Nobody wants to deal with you.
Oh my goodness, I love this question. I think.
Hello, children. Have I ever shown you a picture of my husband? No, I haven't, have I? Maybe it's because I don't have a husband. I have a wife.
So a lot of y'all probably don't know this, but I grew up in the state of Florida. And Florida's educational system is notoriously bad. But of all of the teachers that I ever had, my favorite and most impactful teacher ever was Mr. W. He has a full name, but we're just gonna call him Mr. W. Mr. W was a descendant of Holocaust survivors and a Jewish man. While in school, we had a very whitewashed version of history. It wasn't until I had Mr. W as the teacher that I actually started getting taught accurate history. Because of Mr. W going to the principal and fighting for the rights of students to be educated accurately, that year I was educated on what happened to indigenous peoples, chattel slavery, and the civil rights movement, and I was also taught about Jewish history. Mr. W was also able to convince the principal of the school that we should all, as a school, go to the Holocaust Museum. I remember being 10 years old and it clicking that all of this had happened to real people, and I was completely appalled. That year had a profound effect on how I viewed the world, and I wanted to make sure that people were treated well. I'm 30 now, which means that I've carried these lessons with me for 20 years. One thing that I didn't know about Mr. W was the fact that he was a gay man. I ended up finding that out later. But boy do I fucking wish that me as a queer child had known that. Not only because it would have given me hope and inspiration to see other queer people living their lives authentically, but because now as an adult, I recognize the value in seeing intersectionality. As a lot of us know, obviously the Holocaust targeted mostly Jewish people, but there were also queer people targeted. And learning about the experience of being both queer and Jewish from somebody whose family died in the Holocaust would have been an invaluable lesson. This idea that teachers aren't human beings and aren't allowed to share parts of their lives with students is why our educational system is failing. Teachers like Mr. W and the one that you made a skit about are able to pull from their own life experience to give students the best education and representation on certain issues. And if you can look me in the eyes telling you that I am a better, more well-rounded off person for learning these things when I did, and say that I've been indoctrinated into some sort of agenda, then I'm so sorry to tell you that the only agenda that exists is the one that you're pushing onto people, because you don't want them to learn accurate history. You don't want them to learn that people live different lives than you. And the only thing that you find acceptable is when people live by the rules that you set out for them, with no access to information about anybody else. That is the definition of indoctrination.
Oh my god, guys. The right-wing gamers have actually lost their fucking mind. Take a look at how this individual reacts to Starfield letting you pick your pronouns in the beginning of the game.
Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking pronouns! Fucking gender ambiguity! Fucking current day Californian shit! Because that's all we fucking know! Because we're boring! We're so fucking boring!
My white British brother, you're a grown man. Calm the fuck down, dude. He's complaining, saying that, oh, there's nothing more that I love than loading up an RPG and getting immersed into a world, and I can't fucking do that because of fucking pronouns. Bro, there is nothing stopping you from starting up the game, Pick your he, him pronouns and getting immersed. That's all you gotta do, bruh. From here on out, I ban all right-wingers from calling anybody a snowflake. This is like the third post I see today, and it is 10 a.m. of people complaining about Starfield letting you pick your gender or your pronouns. Bro, get the fuck over it. It's not that fucking deep, bro.
Think about it though, for real. If guaranteed housing, free healthcare, a job guarantee, and free education are so bad and anti-American, why are these the main selling points military recruiters use to get you to join? Let's provide more context before we get to the point. Between 1979 and 2021, worker productivity growth 64%. Worker pay growth only 17%. However, the CEO pay growth was 1,460%. And from 2021 to 2023, we see those same CEO profits celebrating record high profits, but they ain't giving those gains to the laborers. So really, when you think about it, record high profits ain't nothing but stealing labor. A rising tide should lift all boats, not just the yachts. Which brings me to another point. There are multi-billion-dollar companies that have whole payrolls dedicated to finance and making sure their bottom line is always profitable. Those individuals get taxpayer dollars and bailed out all the time, and when working poor people try to get some government assistance, they tell us stop eating avocado toast and you shouldn't have took those student loans when you was 18. In conclusion though, right? Maybe you have internalized that you are bad with money and you feel shame, when in reality that you literally don't get paid enough money for anyone to thrive. It's not you who should be ashamed about that.
I'm just here to tell you that I am halfway through this book, but it is so freaking good already.
So something I'm already seeing come up a lot since the Mary Fran video, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I made a video about the mean girl who was bullying Mary Fran for being fat and existing. Something I've seen come up and seen people arguing about is that there are no privileges that come with being thin over being fat. Really? I didn't know that we were having this argument. Really? This is an argument? No. Listen, it is a fact that thin people are treated better. I think that I always knew this or was already really sensitive to it because I grew up with a mother who was really fat. And the way that I saw her treated in private and in public literally scarred me and created a lot of internalized hatred and fat phobia in myself. One of the things that really scarred me was when I was a kid, we went to Elitch Gardens, or Six Flags it is now, but at the time in Denver it was Elitch Gardens, and my mom, who was about 350 or 60 pounds, couldn't fit on one of the rides. I really remember vividly how hot it was and that there was a group of teenage boys, one of them wearing a Green Day Nimrod t-shirt, that were making fun of her and laughing at her as she came off of the ride. I remember how deeply it hurt me and how much I hated those boys in that moment. And my mom just tried to play it off and make a joke about it, but that has always stayed with me. So yeah, when I see people being cruel to people who are fat, it really triggers me, despite the fact that I have struggled with my weight my entire life. I've had an eating disorder my entire life, and I have dealt with a lot of internalized fat phobia myself because of the experiences that I've had. This was me at one of my thinnest weights. And what I can tell you is this. When I was that thin, I was complimented. Even though I was starving myself and doing other things that were really unhealthy and problematic, I would often get complimented for how thin and how skinny I was. And it was a struggle because I am not naturally a size 0. It was tough. I really had to fight to get that small. I don't have a lot of pictures from when I was at my heaviest weight because I was so ashamed and I had so much self-hatred that I didn't really want the camera on me, but this was me at almost my highest weight. This was also me at close to my highest weight. And I was that heavy after I had already been really skinny. So I can tell you, as someone who is sat on both sides of the fence. Of course I was treated better when I was thin. I know once I was thin, I no longer got asked if I was pregnant. I would not get asked if there was a reason why I was ordering so much food, which happened to me at Panera, and I couldn't believe it. And I told someone who worked there and they just like blew me off. Being ignored when you go shopping because they assume that of course as a huge fat person, you're not gonna buy anything. And just generally being invisibilized, like having people just ignore you constantly. And when you are thin, that is not the case. Anyone, I promise you, anybody who has ever been fat understands this. And who has lost weight understands the difference in the way that they are treated. So not only is thin privilege a thing, but there is this like desire of some folks to want to go out of their way to degrade people who are fat. You don't know why someone is fat. Maybe they're just fat because they're fat, and in which case that's none of your fucking business.net. Or maybe they have PCOS. Maybe they have another hormone imbalance. Or maybe they're fucking traumatized and dealing with addiction like I was, which is one of the reasons why I gained so much weight. And in any case, why is it your job to go over to somebody who is fat and make sure that you make it your business to degrade them? I don't think some of you bitches know how hard it is to be fat in this world. Fat people deal with so much fucking cruelty on a daily basis and so much discrimination. And you want to come in here and be like, you know what? I feel like that their day probably hasn't been hard enough. Let me make it worse. I could talk about this forever. There are so many things to say about it, but I guess I'll just end it with, if you are someone who is thinking about going on some fat person's page to harass them, call them names and be cruel, stop and think for a second. Why am I doing this? Ask yourself that. Why do I feel the need to go on the internet and harass and belittle and be cruel to a human being that I do not know that did nothing to me? Ask yourself that before you go. And if you decide that, okay, I asked myself those questions and I realized that I'm actually just a really unhappy, pathetic piece of shit and I want to go ruin someone's day, all right, then you asked yourself the question. But a lot of you aren't even asking yourself that question. A lot of you need to get a fucking hobby. Volunteer. And do everyone a favor and stop virtue signaling and pretending that you care about people's health. Get your own life in order. Some of you are going on these people's pages, telling them how to eat and telling them how to live their life when you don't even know how to budget your fucking bank account with an app.
Black people can't be depicted in a gothic aesthetic. The comments on that video were giving OP a lot of similar excuses, so I just wanted to address it. Don't send hate to the person I'm responding to. I just wanted to give my perspective as an artist. I'm no colorologist. Basically, there's no real excuse for not depicting darker skin tones. Tim Burton is able to use browns when it comes to backgrounds or clothing, so he can absolutely use it with skin tones as well. Instead of depicting black people with a rich mahogany skin color, you would basically go for an ashy look. Everyone's skin is dry in a Tim Burton movie. When making this, all I did was pick colors from a screenshot and use those exact same colors. So these are all colors that are from his movies. It's from The Corpse's Bride. Whether it's pastels or gothic or vampires or whatever the aesthetic is, black people and other people can fit into it. It's just a matter of laziness. You can like him all you want, but don't make excuses. It's just like lame. Anyways, hope you like it. I have never drawn in this style before, but you know.
You know, I love nothing more than, with all of that laid out in front of me, I love nothing more than to be dragged out at every fucking conceivable opportunity so you can fucking current day us. Sorry, do you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking pronouns! Fucking gender ambiguity! Fucking current day Californian shit! Because that's all we fucking know! Because we're boring! We're so fucking boring!
And this is bacon.
I think it's time that we all start to just consider the other possibility.
So if you've been on any of our recent lives, you've probably already heard this. Would you prefer that I speak mostly in this video? I think so. A lot of y'all know that I'm a trans woman. I came out last December. But what you don't know is that about 4 months ago, Max came out to me as a trans woman. And if you're another trans person, you're probably like, no duh, bitch, I was just waiting. For the last few months, Max has been on HRT. And she wanted to take some time before she came out to the public with it. Around 4 months ago, when I came home from a work trip in Florida, she came over to me bawling her eyes out and told me that she was having a gender crisis. And we talked it out and got her on hormones shortly after. And at this point, I changed the pronouns on our profile. Max's used to stay any pronouns, and I changed them both to she, they. We got a lot of comments being like, we're just waiting for her to come out, which is why I continue to post videos of me being like, I'm just waiting for her to come out as a trans girl, because I had been doing that prior to her coming out to me. And I wanted to throw y'all off the trail. But yeah, we're both trans women, more specifically non-binary trans women, because that's the label that feels most comfortable for both of us. I think an important distinction between our experiences as trans people is that my entire life, I was aware of my gender dysphoria, I just didn't have the language for it, and I didn't know enough trans people to feel comfortable coming out. Whereas Max didn't realize that they were queer until they were around 18, and it took her until she was in her 30s to realize that she was trans.
I was a late bloomer to this, and I never realized my body dysmorphia issues were tied into gender dysphoria.
All that to say, it's never too late to realize that you're trans, and it's never too late to start transitioning. And I guess this officially makes our relationship a WLW relationship. A win for the girls.
She hasn't brushed her teeth for 2 months?
Is what somebody who was judging her would say. But luckily in the comments, I see a lot of you guys really being supportive, saying
Have you seen this girl? She had to cut
Perhaps you've heard of the Pinky Doll controversy, but if not, watch this.
A lot of people were sort of like surprised at your appearance, and some critics were even saying your TikTok is light-skin fishing.
So if you don't know, a TikTok star named Pinky Doll has been accused of bamboozling fans into believing that she was a light-skinned woman. But to me, it just looks like she played the game and obviously won, tricking colorists out of their coin and very deservedly putting it into her own pocket. She's a proud black woman, as she states in the video, and in my opinion, doesn't have to justify herself for playing on our society's Eurocentric preferences. So light-skin fishing is a term that I don't ever want to hear again. It's not a thing. However, I will take this opportunity to talk about the very real and very problematic concept of blackfishing. What is blackfishing? Glad you asked. I'd already done a video on the topic a while back, and on colorism if ever you're interested, but let me refresh our memory. So, blackfishing describes a step beyond cultural appropriation. Coined in 2019 and derived from the word catfishing, it's when non-black folks fish for features to make them appear black or racially ambiguous by altering their makeup, skin tone, face, or body either physically or online. Essentially, it's another way for non-black people to co-opt, profit, and benefit from a historically marginalized group. It could even be said that blackfishing is a modernized version of blackface, a form of racial fetishism, because where black culture and black features have always been marketable and desirable, they've only been so when represented by people who aren't black. In fact, certain influencers and celebrities have and still strategically profit from blackfishing. Looking racially ambiguous gives them marketing opportunities because they're considered exotic, and yet black women are continuously ridiculed for naturally having the same aesthetic and belonging to the culture these influencers and celebrities are copying from. They have the luxury of selecting which aspects of black culture they find desirable without fully dealing with the consequences of blackness. In fact, a recent debacle proved just that, where Erica has been accused of cosplaying as a black woman. When she got in a fight with one, first thing she did was hurl racial insults at her co-star. And where this influencer put on braids and a caricatural black American affect, in the same breath, she antagonized black women. What's more, while they're lauded for having features mocked on black people, they still get to take off their black aesthetic and be white when they step into the world. People desire blackness, just not on black folks. And when black folks speak out against their commodification, they get pushed to the sidelines. So when someone like Pinky Doll games the system and uses it to her advantage, I'm not mad. In fact, I find it quite telling that she has to justify herself for doing in reverse what white women have and continue to do. Heck, some have made a whole career out of it. Black features have historically been dehumanized, maligned, appropriated, exploited, mocked, what have you, so no, light-skin fishing isn't a thing. And this recent drama, to me, is just an example of a black woman who made a very smart career move.
Literally, a man asked me for my number. I said no, and he picked up a brick in front of so many men and was like, "What you gonna do?" And I told all these men, like, "Yo, why this man got a brick on my face?" And he's holding a brick, and all these niggas is watching.
If I see one more man refer to himself as being a natural protector, unironically, I'm gonna get violent. Men bestowing upon themselves the title of being the protectors of women and children has always been a fucking joke, but it's never been funny. All I'm seeing in the comments are, well, why would I endanger my life over a woman I don't know? Or, it's not all men, or, well, why don't women carry? After all, you're independent, right? Yeah, because women who kill their abusers never end up in prison at all. Something that happens in my comments quite frequently and that I found really interesting is that whenever I'm talking about topics like women being abused, women going through weaponized reproduction, weaponized incompetence, this, that, and the third, the men in my comments always seem to think that I'm defending myself. They think I'm talking about these topics because I'm bitter or I've been dogged out by men continuously. But in reality, I'm simply bringing awareness to these topics and defending these women because it's simply the right thing to do. And this is where they get confused. Men can't relate to me doing that because the only thing they have ever protected are themselves or things or people that they perceive as their property. I want to wrap this girl up in a hug so badly because I promise you, if me and my pepper spray or any of my female friends were there, that shit wouldn't have gone down like that.
There's a mom of an autistic child that keeps popping up on my For You page. She's trying to sell you her giant binder of nutritional deficiencies that make your kid act autistic. And it's this big ass binder that's like, if your child doesn't have enough zinc, that's why they have tics. Oh, they're nonverbal, just give them some more magnesium. And it's like, babe, you have a whole binder dedicated to allergies and nutritional deficiencies for autistic kids. I think that might be your special interest. Maybe you need some vitamin E to stop acting so fucking autistic. I don't know.
White men did not invent sexual assault. Sexual assault happens all over the world, not just in America. Did you know that? There are some that would have you believe that this is a uniquely white American male problem, but it's not. Lots of men from every part of the world have committed sexual assault since time immemorial. Yes, even black people. They want you to believe that they are the victims of sexual assault, but they are not. They are just as guilty as anyone. Women too. Women have sexually assaulted people, not just men. The left would have you believe that women never sexually assault people, but it's just not true. If you are a white man, don't let anyone convince you that you are not a good boy, because you are. You are a very, very good boy, and you deserve a cookie for education.
Why are you having a big party to celebrate your unborn child's assumed gender?
Because an alarming number of people still believe that gender is destiny. So back in the 1980s, this political cartoon caused a huge stir in the UK. And I think it's still incredibly effective at getting its point across, because this still looks ludicrous, right? We would never be so bold as to declare a baby a lesbian. Even today, would never purport to know a baby's sexual orientation. Except that we have, and we do claim to know these things all the time. Because no one who throws a gender reveal party thinks that all they are doing is announcing the presence of genitalia. No, a series of assumptions immediately follows. Starting with their favorite color, sure. But because we believe that gender is destiny, we're now mapping out the entire course of their lives. And so announcing it's a lesbian, while on its face is ridiculous, is actually no different than simply saying it's a girl. Because implicit, embedded in that announcement, is it's a straight girl. And there's a name for this phenomenon which comes to us from the philosopher and poet Adrian Rich. compulsory heterosexuality, which describes the various institutions and invisible social forces that naturalize the meaning of our gender and our sexuality, determine who and how we are allowed to love. And while I don't think that the majority of people who throw gender reveal parties are consciously, purposefully, intentionally participating in compulsory heterosexuality, they are anyway. Because just like other oppressive, exclusionary, hegemonic social systems like patriarchy or white supremacy, all that's required for their continuance, for your implicit support, is that you don't resist them. But I also don't think it's a coincidence that this tradition appeared and has picked up more momentum precisely at a moment when the relationship between sex and gender, gender and destiny, has never been more powerfully challenged. And so if you are organizing a gender reveal party and you are also opposed to patriarchy, white supremacy, compulsory heterosexuality, you might want to ask yourself whether it's a good idea. Maybe fill the confetti cannon with purple paper or spiders.
Gay, bad. Nuh-uh. Gay, good. Wrong. Fuck you. Trans, bad. No, you're wrong. Trans, good.
Hey guys, this might sound crazy, but we know this argument is like completely manufactured by news outlets and by the billionaire class. What if they're doing this to like pit us against each other so we're not going against the people that actually own us? Oh my god, conservative. Shut the fuck up. Homophobic conservative. Oh wow, you must be a liberal. Fucking snowflake libtard liberal. Oh my god. Stupid lib shit.
Yeah, I should have expected this. Every day we stray further and further away from class consciousness. Every week there's some stupid little moral argument that pops up in the marketplace of ideas that will be on repeat until the next one. I mean, we all hate the same entities, corporations and the government, so why can't we band together, go against them, and instill an actual true democracy? But alas, that won't happen because we're too encapsulated in the culture wars that are entirely manufactured and fabricated by corporations and news outlets. Man, I fucking hate capitalism.